All right, if you're out here trying to build trust, authority, and real momentum online without using podcasting, you might be doing it the hard way. So today, you're about to hear from someone who didn't just ride the podcasting wave, he actually helped build it. So if you want to turn your voice into dollars and shortcut the know, like, and trust game and make your marketing work smarter, not harder, this is your episode. Welcome back to Million Dollar Marketing. I'm your host, Jody Sedini, and this is the podcast where we don't just talk about marketing, we make it move money and build real brands. So today I'm sitting down with someone who's been at the forefront of podcasting for over a decade. Alex is the founder of PodMatch, the go-to platform that connects podcast hosts and guests. He's an award-winning podcaster himself, winning Podcaster Influencer of the Year and Podcaster of the Year back to back. Amazing. What I love most about Alex is that he's not just about the shiny trophies. He's about serving first, building real authority, and helping entrepreneurs turn their conversations into cash flow, because that's truly what we want to see, right? Is the conversions. So today he's going to be pulling back the curtain a little bit during this interview to show you how leveraging podcasting is not just for brand building, but for actual revenue growth. So let's dive in. Alex, I am so excited to have you here.
Jody, thank you so much for having me. As a listener of your podcast, it's really an honor to be here today.
Oh, awesome. Well, you started podcasting before it was cool. Give us a quick rundown of how you got into it.
Well said. Before it was cool. I never heard anyone say that before. So it's funny. I was in a corporate job at that point. And I was walking through, and I was in management. I was walking to one of the divisions of the company I ran. It was like shipping and receiving, and I was like, walk back through it, and I can hear that they're listening to something. I assume that all the guys are huddled around a computer watching something on the screen. I walk back, turn the corner, I look at the screen, and it's blank, and I'm like, what are you all doing? And they're like, listening to a podcast. I go, what the heck is a podcast? Now, this is 2014. I should have known already, but I was like, what the heck is a podcast? And oh, it's listening to people talk. I'm like, that's so dumb. And they're like, well, it's on your phone. I'm like, no, it's not. And I pull up my iPhone. I'm like, yeah, it's the little purple one. I'm like, oh, what do you know? And I'm back there talking to someone that just have it playing quietly, and I hear something said. I'm like, oh, actually, what was that? Turn it up a little bit. And they're like, oh, Alex is interested in podcasting, right? And I was like, no, I'm not. But I secretly went back to my desk and went back to that app and loaded up whatever they were listening to. And I'm like, I want to hear the rest of whatever that was. Yeah. And Jody became hooked instantly. So what got me into podcasting was listening. And I was already blogging at that point. I really enjoyed writing, but I don't know. I kind of had this itch to speak as well. I just didn't know what that looked like. And I'm like, wait a minute, this podcasting thing might be something. So long story short, I just got into it through that. I started recording just into my phone, and I tried a few things that didn't work and tried some other things that did. And that's kind of what got me into podcasting.
Wow. That's so interesting. All right. And then you obviously got to leave that job.
I did. Yes. Spoiler, right?
Spoiler. All right. Okay. So why does podcasting still matter in 2025? It is probably one of the smartest marketing moves that I think people, online businesses and entrepreneurs can make. Why do you think that is?
Yeah. Before I share what I think, I actually, just because it's timely, I saw a post today from somebody really high up in the Spotify world, and they're on the podcasting side. And they said that they believe that podcasting is literally framing the entire creator economy and creating the content game. It's what's leading the way in all these things, because there's just so much authority in podcasting. And my perspective really mirrors that exact type of thing. That seems kind of like an extreme way to say it, but my mind, there's no more beautiful way to discover a topic you're interested in, but also the people that are involved in it. Jody, if someone's listening to this podcast, I know they like you. You and I get along really well. Chances are, if I'm here, people are probably going to like me as well, because you didn't bring me on because we have extreme differing opinions, or we don't speak at the same wavelength. Like, I know we both talk fast and loud. Are you Italian as well? I don't know if that's just like a coincidence, but um, so for
It's
me,
true.
that's kind of like how I speak. But your listeners will resonate with that. They're gonna be like, man, like Jody talks so slow and quiet, and Alex is so loud. No, you brought me on because of that. And so to me, like, it's a maybe hopefully a little bit more than that, but I think that's what makes it a beautiful medium. I can show up and I can have the opportunity to do what you said earlier, develop know, like, and trust with listeners that are probably interested in what I'm going to share. As a guest, that is amazing. As a host, you're building your authority, your influence, your reputation in the space as someone who really stands out among the rest, because you have this beautiful platform of a podcast.
Yeah, I agree. I also have seen it make the entire sales process easier because it's a really great nurture asset, especially for warming up cold audiences or converting maybes into yeses. Because all of this content, right? When I speak from a place of authority on this content from this platform, people hear that and it builds that know, like, and trust in just a few short episodes, really. Like, and that content can be repurposed and used over and over.
Yeah, it can. And the other thing is, for me, the self discovery of being a podcaster. Like, there's like the old saying, like, if you really want to master something, teach it. And if I'm just listening to a podcast, I need to have a follow up question. I'm like learning in real time, and on both sides of the microphone, the self discovery you gain, the skill sets you're acquiring are like really cool. And for listeners, they're getting that same opportunity, which is great.
Oh no, we have a new Jedi on our podcast here.
All right,
I'm gonna hit pause and address this. Give me just a
that's
second.
amazing.
Okay, so most people don't realize this, but when you're consistent with your podcast content, not only are you growing an audience, you're shortening your sales cycle, and I mentioned that already. So, do you have any insight, or can you talk about how podcast builds real buying intent and not just brand awareness? Have
Yeah,
you seen that?
I'll share a story for myself as a buyer,
Love it.
as a consumer.
Yeah.
So, you're familiar with SMS marketing, like text message marketing, that
Yes.
tactic? So, I think most people at this point are, but when it was a little bit earlier on, I was interested in it because I saw somebody do it, but I knew nothing about it. So I went to a search engine at that point, typed it in. I found a few companies that did it. Compared, I don't even know if I compared the prices. I just like looked at them, like I still don't really understand. So I went to my podcast app and typed in like SMS marketing success tactics or something like that. And I found one podcast about it, which happened to be one of the three companies I was looking at. And I just binged this thing. It was one of their marketing people just talking about how to be successful with it. And guess what? That's the company I went and signed up with. They didn't have to
Yeah.
do anything else. And I out of curiosity, after I signed up, I'm like, you know what? I wonder where they fell on the price point. They were the most expensive of the three, not by like too terribly much, but they were the most expensive. But I didn't care because they invested in my education of it. Like I felt that they equipped me to do well with it. So I was like, that's who I want to work with. I don't know what their
Yeah.
usual sales cycle looks like, but there wasn't much of one for me. It was straight to intent, listen, buy, right? Like it definitely
Yeah.
shortened it for them. There was nothing beyond that. And I was ready to get my credit card because they developed that know, like, and trust. And they actually trained me how to be successful with what I wanted to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I know for me, I have a client who she was running like an evergreen webinar and then, getting booked calls on the back end, and her conversion rates there, they weren't terrible, but it was people they would sign up for like multiple webinars. And so it was taking them like 90 to 120 days in order to actually book the call. And once she got them on the call, she would convert them. Because she was able to identify their objections and speak to those on the sales call. And I was like, are you saying the same things over and over to these people? Because maybe we can just make some content about it. She's like, oh, I already have content like this. It's on my podcast. And I was like, why don't we put that information in front of these people intentionally? So sign up for the webinar, retarget them to a page where it has your podcast content on it, send them to that page. No opt-in required. We already have their email address. And then they consume that content. There's a book a call to action at the bottom of the page. People were booking calls. We reduced our sales cycle down to 30 to 60 days instead of that 90 to 120 days. An ROI on a webinar like that, like that's important to reduce that sales cycle. So especially when you're selling high ticket. So, all right, another question. And I met you at PodFest in Orlando, and it was like almost information overload for me. Like I'm leaving money on the table. I am sure that I am. Where do you see podcasters leaving money on the table, and how can we fix it?
The first thing that I see podcasters do is they want to make money. And we live in this preconditioned society of the way to make money is through advertisements and sponsors. And that's just like how we're conditioned. But if you really look at the numbers, I actually just wrote an article about this on Forbes specifically, like diving into the numbers for an independent podcast that doesn't have a massive audience. It's really hard to make money doing that and put all of our eggs in that basket because it's what the big companies do. It's how TV makes money, right? We look at legacy forms of media and say they're doing it, so we should do it too. The reality is we're not confined to the same things that they are. Like we don't have to do that. The beauty of being an independent podcaster is you can sell whatever you want from your podcast. And so I always tell people when they're like, oh, I want to run ads and do my own thing. I'm like, stop with the ads, just do your own thing. And what I mean by that is nothing's gonna be more profitable than your own brand getting mentioned on your podcast. And the more things you have on your podcast, the more you're muddying the water. So if you have a mattress commercial on your podcast that's about uh, growing your marketing company, why don't you just talk about onboarding a client as for your marketing company, right? Instead of saying, hey, listener, I want you to buy a mattress. I want you to hire me, right? Like just have them hire you, right? And so where I see people leaving money on the table is not being willing to talk about their own thing and instead wanting to promote something else, something outside of it. It's more of a quick fix. I get it, right? But you're never going to make much money doing that. And I know all like the big ad companies and stuff like that claim, hey, there is hundreds of $1 millions going out every year for people that are running ads. There are, but I can guarantee you it's about 100 shows that make 99% of that. And then the other 100,000 or so are making the 1% that's left. And I just think that people need to think about that. And Jody, I don't know what to do because I have shared this so many times front with people and then they hear me and they're like, oh, wow, yeah, that's a good idea. So how do I get a sponsor? I'm like, what? I'm like, did you hear anything I just said? Like, that's not a good idea. And I don't mean to be rude because there's sponsorship companies and ad companies that have actually come after me personally because I say this, but they know that the reality is true. They aren't transparent about it. They do something. Actually, you had a great episode. It aired. Let me see if I remember this correctly. Don't quote me on this, everybody, but January 15th, 2025, it was episode 29 of the show. And you talked about selling without manipulation or fake scarcity. And one of the things that you said is to choose transparency over hype. Ad companies, affiliation companies, they bank on hype. Hundreds of millions of dollars going out. When in reality, the transparent side of it is you're not going to make any money doing this, but you can do it if you want to, right? Like they don't want to share that. And so I always tell people, stop, have your own product or service. Or you can find a partner that does something that you're like, this is kind of what my podcast is about, and build a partnership with them so that's actually fair. Like if they're selling something for $10,000 and they're your partner, you should not make $2 off of that, right? Like there needs to actually be some split if you become the marketing side of their business. If they're not great at marketing, that to me is the best way. And that's where podcasts are leaving, I think, all the money on the table is just doing something for themselves.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. One of my favorite podcasts is a parenting podcast, interestingly enough. But I, I get so annoyed when I hear the mattress commercials and the oh man, all the irrelevant commercials. And I have literally never listened to that and been like, oh, I should go check that out. It's like, fast forward, I don't care about this. I just want to hear the content. And as you were saying all of that, thinking back to these episodes that I listened to, I can't think of very many times when she's actually promoting her own things. And I'm like, how is this woman making money? I listen to all of her content. I'd probably buy a course or coaching from her if she promoted it, but all she's promoting is somebody else's like, fitted sheets or what, organic cotton, whatever. Like, yeah. So it's like, yeah, I can see there's definitely a missed opportunity there. So there are also like tactical ways to there's like the dynamic ad insertion. I'm not doing any of that on my show. And so that was something that I learned about at Podfest. I'm apparently a slow implementer when it comes to things like that. So how does that work? Let's say for our people who have no idea.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought this up because I wanted to tie it in. I was just saying too much. So I felt like I'm like, you know what? I'll just have to let it go. But we brought it back. So thank you. This is a gift to get to talk about. The idea of dynamic insertion means you can have your whole backlog. So for you, however many episodes you have, you can go to your hosting provider. And this sounds a little technical, but hang with us, everybody. And your hosting provider, there's a section called dynamic insertion or something around the dynamic idea, which simply means at any point you can add an additional piece of audio to the beginning, anywhere in the middle, or at the end of every single episode at the click of a button. And what I really like about that, so for me, that's exactly how I do it. Right now, as we're recording this, if you go to my podcast, there is no ad on it at all. I don't talk about my business. I don't talk about anything at all. I say ad, like my own thing. That's all that's ever on there. Nothing is on there right now because I don't want people to get fatigued by hearing it. I do not hard bake them into the episodes. the episode has nothing without it. And sometimes if you listen today, you might be like, how do you even work with this guy? Because it's not mentioned. But in a couple weeks from now, if you've been listening, you're enjoying the episodes, there will be something I put in the beginning of all 350 some odd episodes of my show that says, before my intro, by the way, that's where I like to do it. Hey, Alex here. And the reason I like to start that way is because you're used to hearing a little intro jingle. And now you're like, if you're listening, you're like, wait a minute, this is different. You're not
Yeah.
like conditioned to hearing me say the same thing over and over again. You're like, whoa, there's no intro to today. Like, what is that? So I'll say, hey, Alex here. I've got our quarterly virtual event coming up and I want to give you a ticket. And I'll go into it, I'll explain. And at the end, I just say, and now enjoy today's episode. And then it rolls into that episode.
Love that.
Again, click of a
Love
button.
that.
This is in front of all of my episodes. And then a week later, I take it off. And then there's back to nothing because I don't want people to get preconditioned to saying, to tuning it out, right? Just like any introduction to one of our favorite TV shows. Like you talk during it because you've seen it so many times, right? And there's that
Yeah.
rare episode where there's something different and you're like getting ready to talk to your spouse and you're like, oh, wait, this is different. I need to pay attention, right? Like that's what you want people to do is not tune out. You want them to actually pay attention to it. That to me is the beauty of
That's so
dynamic
smart.
insertion.
Yes, that's a really, really smart way of using that. I wouldn't have thought of doing that. I would have been like, okay, let me record this one and then like go stick it in the middle of my podcast. And
Yeah, so I did that
okay,
originally.
lessons from the expert here.
I did that originally. And the sad thing is, if you go back to my backlog, I have those still like hard baked into my episodes. And sometimes people still email, hey, where's this thing? They want to know where it is. I'm like, hey, I'm sorry, I got rid of that 5 years ago. Like because I mentioned it in the episode. So when I don't do that, it's just like a really great opportunity. And I put stuff at the beginning. Sometimes I put stuff at the end. If it's something I'm not really trying to sell much of, I literally say, hey, thank you so much for staying till the very end. If you're here, I want to give you a gift. And then I have that giveaway. And oddly enough, I didn't expect it, but people actually listen to this whole thing all the way through the outro, right? Like it's incredible. But to me, that's like the best way to do it, especially when you have like a limited just in time type of offer. Not that we're trying to build, I'm thinking about your episode 29 again. Like we're not trying to manipulate or create fake scarcity, but if you're like, hey, this is in 2 weeks, that's a perfect time to be able to add something.
Got it. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. All right. I want to segment into the next thing, which is like lessons from your journey. So you've helped a lot of people succeed with podcasting. What's, let's say, one mindset shift around podcasting that separates winners from people who stay stuck?
Yeah. The first thing is just the consistency of it. Podcasting is not a quick win. It is not a quick win. As a matter of fact, if someone's like debating, I want to start a business or I want to become a podcaster, I always tell people go start a business because like it's actually probably easier to start a business than to be a podcaster. And not saying can't work together, it can't be connected, but the reality is it's going to take a lot more work than people think. And along with that hard work comes the need for consistent effort. For me personally, and so many creators I know, we all talk about how 100 episodes is when our show, like reaching that point is when our show really started taking off. And no one's ever been able to like really quantify it or have a real reason. But like if I go post that today, 50 people will be like, yep, same for me. Yep, same for me, right? Because it just seems to be that. And I think it's because the internet wants to know that you're going to be around. If everyone fails, it's not going to want to promote you along with everyone else who's not going to make it. But that 100 episode threshold, which is for most of us 2 years, if we're doing a weekly show, right? That tells everybody, including the internet, that you're in this for the long game. And so I think that the big thing that people misunderstand in podcasting is that it's going to take some time. You're going to have to put more energy into it than you're thinking you're going to have to. And you're just going to have to buckle in. And that's not bad. That's actually a good thing. It builds a rhythm. It forces you to get really good at what you do. And to me, it's been a blessing. But like a lot of people, they're like, man, I'm 6 weeks in. This thing ain't doing anything. I'm done. I don't know many people that have done it for 6 weeks and keep it going well.
Yeah, I totally resonate with all of that, especially from that perspective of like, I know I can build a funnel, run ads to it, and like see some instant results. Whereas, the podcasting is exactly what you just said. Like it takes time. And here I am like halfway to 100 episodes right now. And I have literally been thinking in the last few weeks, like, is this even worth it? Is this doing anything? Like, and then I had someone book a call that literally said, I came from your podcast, and it turned into, a multi-5-figure contract. And I was like, all right, I'll keep going.
Yeah. See, that makes it worth it right there. The data my company collects the data. So podmatch.com/report. If anyone's just curious, 50% of people who start a podcast quit before 8 episodes. 50 episodes, I can't remember the number, but it's like 10% or something like that are the only ones still doing it after even just 1 year. But I love that you share that story. Because here's the thing, like some people are like, I need more listeners. I'm like, do you, or do you need more conversion? Like, because Jody, I don't know how many deals like that you need per year to make it work. But I imagine if 50 people emailed you today wanting to book a call to hire you, you have to scramble
Yeah,
like a little bit to hire more people to figure that out, right? Like, can you
I
actually do
would.
that, right? Or would you
Yeah.
want to, for that matter?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't need a huge flood in of booked calls and sales from my podcast for it to be worth it, because I think what the podcast is actually doing is building a group of true believers, like the people who are listening are the people who are invested. I had someone on the show last week who talked about HR and hiring to scale versus, just getting butts in seats. And the same like mentality needs to be applied here. Is it's not just doing marketing efforts to scale rapidly, it's what's going to build that solid foundation that continues to nurture and build and grow over time. So man, it's a lesson in patience and in, stamina, and making sure that you continue just showing up and doing it. So it's a good one for me.
Yeah.
Something I'm working on. So, well, all right, your whole model is about service. So how has leading with like service first thinking impacted your business success?
Yeah, it's I don't know directly. Sometimes people are like, "Man, you're too transparent," or like you're helping too much. And like it's weird to hear that, but some people are like, "Man, you got to like as a founder, you got to like build more walls and stuff like that." And so I'm very unconventional from the perspective of a founder, even as a podcaster, because I really love community and I love people. So I'm not saying this advice is like the best advice, but I will say it's worked really well for me. It's extremely fulfilling. And so for me, I just decided
Mhm.
like, if you're going to email me, if you're going to message me, and anyone who's listening, you can try this. If you message me or email me, you're going to get me. I don't have a virtual assistant doing that for me. I don't use AI to do that. And like,
I commented on your post today. I
oh,
don't know if you saw that or
I
not, but I
haven't
saw
made
your
it up.
post.
I saw your name, but like I knew I had this interview coming up. I didn't want to be distracted. So I haven't like, I've been listening to your podcast instead of
Yeah.
responding to comments. That's what I've done
Yeah.
today. So
Well, I appreciate that. So basically, for people listening, Alex posted like I have this pretty hard stance about, using AI to respond to people. Human connection is important to me. I love that quality about you. I feel the same way. And I love what I've noticed, what I've heard from you a few times today throughout this interview, is that like you're not afraid to like plant your flag in something that you really truly believe in, and then you take a stand for that, which is great. And I feel like I said, I feel the same way about the AI. Is like it's this balance of, people seeking out the speed to lead thing, the responding, versus that human connection and authenticity. And for me, I think we're the same here. Is that like if someone's going to bounce because I can't respond to them with a bot in less than 5 minutes versus wanting an authentic human interaction and connection, then they're probably not for me.
yeah. I think I'm glad that we actually got to talk about this. So for me, I was just curious what other people thought, because I don't mean to get a chip on my shoulder. I even said that in there, but sometimes it just, when someone emails me and it's not a person, I'm like what are we doing here, right? Like,
Mhm.
and I get the speed to lead is the idea. Like let's get as many people in as we possibly can. But the reality is like there's a quality over quantity thing as well. And I think we're going to see a pendulum swing pretty fast. Like AI has like think about how fast AI has just emerged, right? We're going to see a
Mhm.
pendulum of people's reaction to it swing pretty quick. And I don't think that tactic is going to work long term. If you're the one human that messages somebody in a day and there's 10 of them that are AI, which one are they going to respond to? And people are savvy. They're able to know if it's human or not. And for me, I've been getting better results than I ever have from my conversations, because it's actually just me. And I have grammatical errors like crazy. And sometimes I reread my sentences, and they don't make sense. And I'll admit, like, I could probably use some help there. But the reality is, most people who know me or have talked to me before, they're like, yeah, Alex doesn't know how to spell the word "to," because there's a few ways to do that, right? Like little things like that. Then I'm like, I'm not really sure how to do this. I do use Grammarly to try to help a little bit, but the point is, I want to make sure that when I communicate um, on my podcast, through my company, anywhere that I'm talking to people, that they get the authentic me, because that's who you're going to get if you work with me. And I've used this example before, but like, you don't want someone to think that you're somebody you're not, because eventually they're going to get to you, and there's not going to be a connection, because you let them build a connection with something that isn't you. That is dangerous.
Mm.
And you don't
Mhm.
want that. And you're not going to be able to hire. Listen, no one's going to hire you for $20,000 Facebook ads, like a campaign to work with you, Jody, if they never actually had a real interaction. You're like, okay, what's your name? Alex, right? Like, and you're like, wait a minute, we've been talking. Like, what is this? Like, they're not, that's
Yeah.
feels wrong. And
Yeah.
again, this is unconventional at this point, sadly. it's worked very, very well for me, and is actually working better than it ever has now.
Yeah. I think authenticity, human connection, transparency, so important. I actually, most of the time in the DMs, I'm too lazy to type back. So it's voice notes.
I love voice notes. That's my
Of course you
favorite.
do. Yes.
Now that I
I'm
know
like,
that, you're never getting another message from me that's written. It's all voice
sweet.
notes.
Yep. No more thumbs, all voice. So, all right, we're going to head into some fun rapid fire questions. I hope you're ready. First, top of mind answers is what I'm looking for. What's your favorite podcast that you're obsessed with right now?
Right now, I've really enjoyed the Jordan Harbinger show. Uh,
I've never heard of it.
okay, he's like done really well in podcasting. I actually like it because of how he interviews. I feel that like he is just a very gifted and learned interviewer. So I'm actually listening to like enhance my skills. So some of the topics I'm not interested in at all, but I'm like, but he does such a good job. So yeah,
Oh,
that's
I
what I've
love.
enjoyed.
Okay, great. Dream guest that you've not had yet.
Dr. Benjamin Hardy. I've learned so much from many of his books. Like in every book I've read of his, I feel that it's like directly to me. So I'm like, at some point, I'd actually like to talk to the guy.
All right, listeners, if you somehow have a connection, Alex is your guy. All right. One bold opinion that you have about content marketing.
Oh, sorry, repeat. I didn't hear it. Sorry, repeat that one.
One bold opinion that you have about content marketing.
Yeah, it should be human first, human centric. It should come from your heart, be transparent.
Love that. Okay, last one, a daily health or mindset ritual that you swear by.
I could talk for hours on this one. I'm gonna keep it really brief. For me, it sounds weird, but is getting to bed on time. If I get to bed on time in the right way, so not drinking, not staying up too late, not being attached to my screens and going to sleep, everything seems to click the next day. And I'm very regimented in the morning, but it only works if I'm in bed by 10 and that last hour of my night is done correctly.
Wow. You and I are probably more aligned than what you realize. Like, yeah, very aligned in that as well. So, okay, that's awesome. Where's the best place for people to connect with you and check out PodMatch?
Yeah, if you go to podmatch.com/free, I've got 5 wins there that if you're a guest host, aspiring guest, or aspiring host, like it's things that will be good for you and help you drive things forward. And that's podmatch.com/free. It doesn't ask for email address or anything like that. It's just there to help, and you can contact me from there. And as we've been saying, it's going to be me if you reach out. So that's the best place to start is podmatch.com/free. So, and Jody, thank you. This has been amazing.
For sure, for sure. And I'll make sure that I would love the link to your Forbes article as well, that we can put that link around this episode somewhere for them to check out. So, guys, if you're thinking about starting a podcast or leveling up your content marketing strategy, this conversation, it's your permission, it's your green light to move ahead with that. Alex, thank you so much for being here, sharing your wisdom with my audience today. Seriously, you are a wealth of knowledge. I feel like I could have you on to talk for another hour at least. I know our audience is walking away today with some real strategies that they can actually use. I am, not just files to, or, ideas to file away for that someday, someday I'll get to it. So if you're listening and you have even had one nugget of information that made you think differently about how you're marketing your business, pause right now and do 2 quick things. Number 1, share this episode with a friend who needs to hear it. And number 2, I would love if you left a quick rating and review, so that other people can hear about this too. So it helps us get these conversations into the ears of more entrepreneurs who are ready to market smarter and scale faster. So thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you next week on $1 Million Marketing.